In our last video, we showed you the emerging relative strength in Ocean, a leading altcoin in the AI sector. At the time, Ocean had just broken out above its 50-day moving average. Back on May 30th, this red line is the 50-day moving average, and that's always a key level of intermediate term support or resistance. So when we saw a breakout above this 50-day moving average on May 30th, it got our attention, especially when you look at the volume. We're always looking for breakouts to be confirmed by sharply increasing volume. Volume is the gasoline that determines the strength of the rally. And you can see here on the day of the breakout, Ocean's volume surged that day to its highest single volume day in several months since back in February. Now, after we saw that breakout above the 50-day moving average, we noticed that the price also pushed above a downtrend line that had been in place from the February highs, so a multi-month downtrend line. So again, when you've got a breakout that goes above not only a key moving average, but above a downtrend line, that's definitely something we want to be in when it's backed by high volume. However, this is the difference between just gambling and shooting from the hip and actually having a proven trading system that works. For the past 21 years, the Morpheus trading system has been, if we don't buy a breakout, then we wait for a pullback. We don't chase. And in this particular case, because of recent market conditions, we've been buying pullbacks more than buying breakouts. So after we saw Ocean break out above its 50-day moving average and downtrend line, we immediately put it on our radar to began looking for a potential pullback entry that would be much lower risk. And if we zoom in here a little bit, we can see the very next day that Ocean not only continued on its momentum, but it rallied all the way up to 41, but it did close the day lower. Now, what we were looking for was a pullback to this trend line, because remember, a prior level of resistance becomes the new support after the resistance is broken. So when we saw a breakout above this downtrend line, we then immediately were looking for a pullback to support of the trend line right around the 37 to 38 area. And that's exactly what happened. Just yesterday, we were able to get an entry point at 0.375 right here near the low of this pullback. And today, just one day later, we're seeing follow through right after that pullback and back up to the $40 mark. So Ocean's looking really good. So far, it's showing a 7% gain since our entry just yesterday. Now, as a swing trade, our profit target is right around the $45 level. If you look at this horizontal line here, you can see the prior highs from back in April and again back in March had some resistance right around the $45 mark. So we'll be looking to sell into strength and take profits as the price approaches the $45 mark. And that'll be a nice gain if we hit that profit target of over 20% on this trade. And it's a good risk reward because we've got a stop loss set down here just below the 50-day moving average. So Ocean is a trade that's working out really well for subscribers of Morpheus Crypto. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some other hot cryptos on our radar. Another crypto we've been monitoring in the AI sector is AGIX. And AGIX has been in a tight sideways consolidation for the past week, consolidating just below resistance of its 50-day moving average, the red line. And the price has been holding above the 10-day moving average, the green line. So notice we've got kind of a squeezing action with the 10-day moving average rising up to meet the price of the 50-day moving average with the price of AGIX in the middle. So that creates potentially explosive conditions because the longer we have this volatility contraction in AGIX, the more powerful the eventual breakout. Now, which way will the breakout go? Well, the breakout could go either direction when you've got a tight volatility contraction, but usually the trend will resume in the direction of the consolidation. So in this case, we've got the consolidation near the highs. So odds favor a breakout to the upside, especially with the 10 and 20-day moving averages rising up to provide support. Another reason that we're looking for a potential breakout to the upside is the volume pattern in AGIX has been very bullish. We've got higher volume on the breakout back here in about several weeks ago. We made a 14% gain on the first move higher AGIX, but since then it's just been consolidating. But the volume pattern's been very bullish here. We've got higher volume up days and lighter volume on the down days, which is exactly what we want to see. So we are monitoring AGIX for a potential breakout above the 3150 area, which would put it above the 50-day moving average. However, the Morpheus trading strategy always focuses on buying the top relative strength cryptos. Now, since AGIX and Ocean are in the same sector, they're kind of a similar play. We already bought Ocean yesterday on the pullback because it's been showing more relative strength than AGIX. However, nevertheless, we will keep an eye on AGIX and consider for potential buy entry if the volume surges and confirms a breakout above the 50-day moving average. If you're a paid subscriber of Morpheus Crypto, we'll send you a trade alert with our exact entry and stop prices if we enter AGIX. Next up on our radar is GRT. As is the case with many industry sectors, the AI sector tends to run as a whole. So what that means is that when we see one leading crypto in the sector rallying, we tend to see multiple cryptos rallying. So we've got Ocean, AGIX, GRT, FET. They're all in the AI sector, and they're all currently showing emerging relative strength and volume. So we've looked at Ocean and AGIX. So let's take a look at GRT, which is the next crypto on our radar right now. GRT was kind of a laggard at first because it was the last of the cryptos in the AI sector to get back above its 50-day moving average. That being said, it actually is starting to look very strong and showing high relative strength. It's had 7 straight up days in a row. And the volume, notice how the volume's been steadily climbing higher, which is what we want to see when we see a breakout. Now, today we did have this big long tail, or this wick rather, on a candlestick, which means we had an intraday reversal. But if we drill down to the hourly chart and we look short term, we can see that that was really just kind of, or even if we go down to the 15-minute chart, it was a quick spike higher that was not really followed up by anything. There was big volume. So it looks like it might have been a big order, millions of dollar order, multi-million-dollar order that came in here at market or something and bought because the price came right back down. But nonetheless, if we factor out this big volume spike, we see that the price has moved above the 50-day moving average. Now, as I mentioned before, we don't chase. We wait for the price to come to us. That gives us low risk entry points with high risk reward. So with GRT, what we're looking for now is a potential pullback down to the 1260 to 1270 area. If you notice this horizontal line we drew here, this was the prior highs of the base, and there's a bit of support there. And now we've got the 10 and 20-day moving averages rising up just below that. So if we see a pullback to the 1260 to 1270 area, that would give us a low-risk entry point into GRT. Although it would put the price back below the 50-day moving average, the next move higher would likely push through that 50-day moving average as long as the pullback was on lighter volume. So keep an eye on GRT as the third crypto in the AI sector that we're monitoring for potential buy entry after already entering Ocean. In our last video, one of the strongest crypto breakouts that we highlighted was in QNT, a former leader that led to big gains for our members back in the 2021 bull market. And QNT just recently broke out above its 50-day moving average for the first time in many months. It did so on sharply higher volume, which again is distorted because of this big volume day here in April. But factoring that out, you can see we actually had the highest volume breakout in the past several months. And after we saw the breakout above the 50-day moving average, we immediately put it on our radar for a potential pullback entry. But rather than pulling back much, the price action has been so strong that it's just been basically trending sideways, consolidating near the highs and forming kind of a tight sideways consolidation pattern. Now, when we have a correction, a short-term correction, we see often a correction by price, which is a pullback, but sometimes we have a correction by time, which is just sideways consolidation. So QNT has been so strong that it hasn't even pulled back that much. Ideally, we were looking for a pullback to just above the 50-day moving average, which would have given us a low-risk entry point in the 110 to 112 area, but we haven't seen that yet. So what that means is we're still monitoring for potential pullback entry to this range, and we'll send a trade alert to enter this if we see that pullback entry point. But if we don't get that entry point, we'll still consider QNT for a possible buy entry if we see a longer consolidation period here, which would form a base to break out from. We have kind of a cup pattern. If we form kind of a downward sloping cup and handle, then that would give us a valid buy point. So for now, QNT is not in play. It's on our radar. But again, we don't chase. We're looking for a low risk entry point that gives us a high risk reward. But definitely the relative strength of QNT has really been picking up the past few days. So keep an eye on QNT and look for any potential pullback as a buy point. Back in March, SXP was a huge winner, rallying from about 25 cents to nearly $1 in just a week, about a 400% gain. Quite a monstrous move, but of course, when something rallies that quickly, then the momentum is kind of going to be gone for a while the price corrects. So since April, we've had SXP in a lengthy correction, just kind of drifting lower, absorbing the gains of that 400% gain in a week. Now, fast forwarding to the present, SXP is still trading about almost double above where it was back in March. And more importantly, on a technical level, the price is reclaiming the 20-day moving average. This blue line. The price action is trying to reclaim support of the 20-day moving average, which is this blue line. And as we've seen in recent videos, when we see a crypto reversing back above its 20-day moving average, it often leads to a high volume short-term bounce. And we can see here the first time that 2 days ago, SXP probed above its 20-day moving average, we did see a big volume spike. However, the price action did sell off and came back below that 20-day moving average. And again, today probed above it and currently holding right at that 20-day moving average. So currently SXP is at a very pivotal level. If it can get above the 2-day high of about 44.5 cents, then you can see here from this horizontal line that would represent a significant breakout above basically a month-long tight consolidation, which should at least at a very minimum take the price action up to the 50-day moving average resistance around 50 cents and a nice bounce. Now, it may not seem like a very big bounce, but actually that would represent about a 20% rally, and we can have a very tight stop loss just below the 2-day low. So it's in trading, it's not about how big the gain is, it's about the risk reward. How big is the gain compared to potential risk if you stop out? And we really like the risk reward in SXP, almost a 4-to-1 risk reward. So SXP, again, if it gets above 44.5, that would confirm the breakout. And the last crypto in today's video is ACH. Now, ACH was formerly showing relative strength before the recent correction. And notice how the 50-day moving average, this red line, perfectly acted as support until we broke down below it. We had bounce off the 50-day moving average in March, then again several more times later in March, again, and finally in April we broke below that 50-day moving average. So we always talk about how the 50-day moving average is a key level of support or resistance for the intermediate term trend, and that's a really clear example there of how it acted as support. Now, technical analysis states that once a level of support is broken, that support level, the former support level, now becomes new resistance. So as we rally into this 50-day moving average, this is now resistance. However, if we get back above this 50-day moving average, then we could see bullish momentum return to ACH. It is showing high relative strength intraday. Today, it's one of the top gainers today on strong volume, and the price action is trying to push above the 3-day high. So keep an eye on ACH. If the volume picks up and confirms, we could see a nice move that takes ACH back towards its recent highs and could be in play for a potential swing trade. So that's ACH. If you're new to Morpheus trading and you'd like to learn a no-nonsense trading strategy that works, head on over to morpheustrading.com, click on Crypto Picks, and find out more about our crypto swing trading service, Morpheus Crypto Pro. You receive live trade alerts with our exact entries and exits, and access to the professional trading team in a live chat room for crypto swing trading. Don't forget to push the like button and subscribe, and we'll see you back in our next video.